Hello, beautiful humans of the interwebs. Welcome to eSpot Live. I am Ellie. This is Rodney. We're both happy to be here. Happy Monday. I always start out eSpot Live with disclaimers, and I don't have too many technical disclaimers today because everything seems to be working, which if you've watched before, you know that makes me nervous. So let me know in the chat if anything goes a bit wonky. Otherwise, we'll just keep tracking. My only real disclaimer is that today's a Monday and I am sleep deprived. Nothing serious or to be concerned about at all. Just life. It does that sometimes. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Excited to hang out with y'all and talk about some newsy stuffs. So, if you are new to eSpot Live or catching up a bit later and aren't sure what on earth this is a live stream where I babble about different news-related topics and chat with people when they chime in. It's all related to entertainment news, and that's pretty much the only, solid, set-in-stone thing about it. The rest of it is all up in the air. So there we go. Yeah. On that note, let's go ahead and get started. First up to chat about today, this cracked me up. Okay, so we're all familiar with Twitch bans, I'm sure, right? That's something that happens is things go awry and bans occur and people can't access Twitch for whatever reason. Well, my, how the turns have tabled as we see Twitch in its entirety banned from a country. In a hilarious turn of events that is not entirely on purpose, Twitch has been completely banned from Slovakia. Let me chat a little bit about what's going on here. Again, we're all familiar with how bans work. Typically, Twitch banning individuals. And because the rules are kind of changing often, and sometimes enforcement can be a little inconsistent, it's hard to enforce anything that's live, essentially. We see it happen often. Anyways, this is new. It's new for me, at least. I don't know. Maybe Slovakians ban websites often. However, it seems that this site-wide ban is due to a single streamer. So, a streamer was found illegally playing online poker while on stream, which turned into Twitch being banned in Slovakia. So it's a pretty humorous situation, but also kind of serious for Slovakians who can no longer access the site at all to watch any of their favorite streamers. The particular streamer in question is D Dandis, who is a Twitch partner, has around 35,000 followers. He hasn't been banned from Twitch yet, but his actions did somehow result in the entirety of Slovakia no longer being able to access Twitch. So at the time that this kind of blurb was put together, there was only one specific internet provider who followed through with the ban so far. So it seems that the block was supposed to apply only to D Danda's account, but instead went out to the entire site of Twitch in general. It's not yet clear if other ISPs are going to follow suit, banning the entire account site, or just try to limit to the individual who was charged. Supposedly, this ban was put into place because of D Dandis' online poker streams, which are in direct violation of the Slovakian laws about promoting gambling. Again, as I mentioned before, the situation is kind of hilarious, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Many people have been laughing about it. It's also very ironic, seeing Twitch on the other hand or the other side of the ban hammer is just, somewhat amusing. Not something we get to see very often. It's like fate in some ways, but it's It's just a funny thing that will hopefully be rectified very quickly. Because while it is funny, there are also countless of Slovakians, streamers, and viewers who can't access the site right now. It's also worth noting that while this might just be kind of inconvenient for some people, it's impacting the livelihood of professional streamers. So it is something that's hopefully going to be settled very soon. There have already been calls for Twitch to settle the issue with the Slovakian government as soon as possible. Slovakia as a nation does frequently block gambling sites in a similar manner. But it kind of seems like there might have been a misunderstanding as to what Twitch actually is. Still, there's no word quite yet as to what's going to happen to D. Dandis and his streams. So, his viewers might want to stay tuned to find out for themselves what's going on. It'll be interesting to see how this is dealt with, if this is going to turn into a ban from Twitch to the one streamer, or if this is going to kind of stay into effect for a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. I don't know how a government would ban a specific streamer on a specific site. Maybe the fact that that's kind of difficult to do is the reason why the entire site seems to be off the grid, if you will. But yeah, here's to hoping that it'll get sorted fairly quickly. Like I said, especially for those who depend on Twitch for livelihood. And frankly, also for amusement. But in the meantime, Slovakian Twitch viewers, at least, will be having to find their entertainment elsewhere until this is all sorted out. But yeah, that's something that I found quite entertaining. I didn't see it coming. I did not see that coming. Who would anticipate Twitch being the one to get banned for once? But yeah, that's all I have on that particular topic. Next up is kind of similar to a ban, I suppose, but in a very, very different direction. And this time we're going to chat about YouTube. In that YouTube has reportedly taken down videos by a group who has been dedicated to documenting human rights abuses, specifically in a certain province in China. So YouTube has taken down several videos from a human rights organization's channel, which was attempting to document human rights abuses in China's Xinjiang province. I apologize if I butchered that pronunciation. Specifically, the videos were removed for violating its anti-harassment policy, according to Reuters when it was reported. So on June 15th, Atajurt Kazakh Human Rights said that the Google-owned video platform disabled its channel entirely, telling the group it had received too many strikes against its channel for videos where people displayed identification cards showing that they were related to missing residents in China. That apparently broke YouTube's rule against displaying personal information, which led to the video's removal. The channel was restored 3 days later, according to Reuters. YouTube reportedly asked the group to cut out or conceal the IDs in videos, but the channel's administrator said they didn't want to do so out of concern that such action would damage their credibility. They've been praised by organizations, including Human Rights Watch, for helping to expose human rights violations. According to MIT Technology Review, Atajurt posts testimonies from the family members of people detained in Chinese internment camps. Most of the videos that were removed have been restored following appeals, but some still remain unviewable. According to Reuters, the group is backing up its videos on blockchain-based video platform Odyssey, so they are still going to be available. Google responded to MIT Technology Review that it welcomes, quote, responsible efforts to document important human rights cases around the world, end quote, but does mention that YouTube has, quote, strict policies that prohibit harassment, including doxing, end quote, which is why it does not allow personally identifiable information to be published. A June 10th report from Amnesty International found that the Chinese government had conducted state-organized persecution, including torture against people in the Xinjiang province in western China. The United Nations has estimated that at least 1 million people are being held in internment camps in China, which is a claim that has been disputed by China. So this turns into a really, really interesting conversation for me personally. We've talked on eSpot Live about how difficult it can be to properly enforce laws and protection policies and those types of things on the internet, right? The World Wide Web is a big place. This confused me a little bit because I definitely understand the policy in general of not allowing, like, personally identifying information in most cases. But in this case, from what I can tell, it seems to be the people themselves who are giving out the information, which comes with permission to use said information. So I don't know if there's, like, a specific flag or a specific reason that these videos would be blocked. Like I said, I definitely understand that desire to keep private information safe. When you think of something like, you know, just the general news or a video that includes that, there's going to be some information that's blocked out if they don't have the person's permission to use either their image or their name. And then if they do have the permission, or if it's pertinent to the information, then you have the person giving their name and image and all that information. So I don't know if there's, like, something that's on these identification cards that's, like, worse than other things or what, but I'm not quite sure why it would be considered doxing when it's the individual themselves identifying who they are in detail in order to bring up awareness of what's going on, which in this case is humans going missing, which is kind of an important thing to have personal information for. Now, I definitely get the fear that these people could be put in danger or persecuted for even, you know, putting themselves out there like that. But it would seem to me that they're already in that dangerous situation to begin with. So yeah, that's something that I don't personally know as much about, which is kind of surprising because I've kind of got a thing for random legal bits on the interwebs. But this is something that I find very interesting personally. And yeah, obviously human rights in general is something that I care very much about. And yeah, I'm very, very interested, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. What kind of perspective you guys have as to why this information would be blocked and pulled. If you think there's more behind it than what's just kind of meeting the eye, or what. As Jedi Roxy says, hooray for conspiracies! Also, hooray for people in the chat! Welcome, Jedi Roxy, it's good to see you here. Yeah, but that's like, I mean, that's kind of what I was going towards a little bit, is that I feel like there's only one person who wins in the situation that is silencing a human rights organization's bringing global awareness to a human rights violation. And it's not the people who are being doxxed. Just saying. As Jedi's mentioning, though, there is probably more behind it, not just to protect the individuals, but the family, friends of those as well. I mean, I do get that, I suppose. I don't know. It just makes it a very interesting thing because obviously, like I said, you do want to protect the individuals who are not choosing to give out their personal information. 100% I agree with that. But in this instance, it sounds to me as though it's people who are giving out their information. So if I knew somebody who had gone missing and they were a family member of mine, I could say, hey, this is the person who's missing, and this is proof that I'm their family member. And to have that just removed would be, frankly, kind of scary. But again, there might be more that I just don't fully comprehend about what's happening here. Jedi saying, depending on how much protection that person would have, would determine their level of braveness to be upfront and direct. That's true as well. I mean, I guess there's that. This person either has solid protection to be willing to give up their information, or is in that much desperation, and or they know that there's no protection anyways. So yeah, like I said, part of me kind of gets that abstract, yeah, you want to keep people safe, but the other part of me is thinking, I guess for me, what it comes down to in a general situation like this is, if this is somebody else giving out my private information to make a point, that I could see would be doxing. That's a violation. That's scary for whatever reason. But if I choose to give out personal information in order to verify who I am, my connection to a missing person, and the validity of what's happening in the area, in order to raise awareness of people going missing, I think I have the right to do that. I can't even imagine being in that situation where I would be desperate enough to put out my identity card for the world to see in order to raise awareness to human rights violations. So yeah, I guess for me personally, just in how my brain works, that's the determining factor, is who's giving out the information. If it's just the human rights group kind of posting the information of everybody they've talked to, that's maybe one thing. But if it's the people in particular giving permission for their information to be put out there in order to find their family members and or, you know, show the world what's happening, I would imagine they have the right to do so. So yeah, there's a lot there. If y'all have more thoughts, let me know in the chat. I am fascinated by this. Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is there. Yeah. I'm sorry, Rodney. Jedi says, I don't think it should be instantly removed. Maybe sending that person a heads up or warning saying that their safety is at risk is preferred instead of immediately removing the post. On Discord as well. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know, because in this instance, you know, it's a human rights advocacy group posting videos with the people they interview, so YouTube as a whole wouldn't necessarily have access to that. I mean, they would. They do have access to that person's information because it's been posted in the video, so there's that. But yeah, so if y'all have other thoughts, questions, concerns, anything like that, as Jedi says, hop in Discord, because I'm really curious to continue this conversation, and to see if you guys do know more about the laws surrounding personal information online. Let me know, because I'm very curious. There's a lot there. But for now, let's move along. The next topic I have to chat about is less heavy, for sure, but still kind of odd. Halo is being made into a TV series. Yay! But they've already lost their showrunner after just the first season, which... less yay! So yeah, Halo TV show, being put out there by Paramount, and they're losing their showrunner after just the first season. Stephen Kane, who had planned to take on the mantle of co-showrunner with Kylie Killen before Killen left the project before it even went into production, is now reportedly leaving in order to return to the US for personal reasons. Whatever that means. For the last 2 years, Kane has resided in Budapest, where the series is being produced. According to Variety, Kane, who was first attached to the project back in 2019, is staying on to oversee the post-production process, but will not be returning if the show picks up for a second season. So we still have yet to see if that's even going to happen, but, you know. Pablo Schreiber, who is set to play Master Chief in the series, has shown off the protagonist's iconic helmet in a very recent set photo. The production, which returned to filming after a brief hiatus due to COVID, has also shared a series of images from behind the scenes, including enough firepower to take down a Covenant armada. This particular video game adaptation has moved from its original home, which was to be on Showtime, onto Paramount Plus. It is set to launch sometime in Q1 of 2022, which means we'll be watching the Amblin and the 343 Industries produced series before April 1st of 2022. So it'll happen sometime early on in the year. Mass Effect project director Mac Walters recently offered a little information about what happened to the Mass Effect movie. It was initially announced by Legendary Pictures in 2010, right at the height of the franchise's original trilogy, but never came to be. In a new interview, Walters hinted that getting the story-rich universe of Mass Effect into a single film was an incredible and major stumbling block, stating, quote, "It felt like we were always fighting the IP. What story were we going to tell in 90 to 120 minutes?" End quote. And then, despite the suggestion that it could be adapted into TV instead, Walters then just said it never picked up again after that, although it was not for lack of trying. So, it's interesting to see the resurgence of video game adaptations. So, I'll be curious to see where both of these go, how successful Halo is, and whether or not Mass Effect will ever get picked up for a TV series will be interesting to watch. I mean, Mass Effect does seem like a logical next step, seeing what we're seeing hit the screens, but it'll probably depend on the success thereof. So we'll have to see how things like The Last of Us, Halo, those kind of adaptations are happening. I've said endlessly before, I feel like video game adaptations, more so than any other type of adaptation, is so hit and miss. When it does well, it does really, really well. And when it doesn't do well, it's not okay. So, yeah, I think if this new generation of adaptations does well, we might get to see even more, especially for those that, you know, people have already gotten hyped about, that just we never got to see the end product of. So here's to hoping that project finds its footing in the future. But, yeah, going back to Halo, there's a lot that could mean, but I imagine, especially if there's a family involved, being in Budapest for years on end with no definitive end sight, could be rather taxing. If you're unattached, then go for it, but I'm sure that there's, like, a solid reason. There's no necessarily projected drama there, though. I mean, people always like to make drama in the entertainment industry, so who knows the reason, the exact reason that Kane is stepping down should the series continue on. But I'm curious to see how well the series does. Also, I mean, it's always a good sign. Like, it's not like he's just up and walking away or being immediately booted. Like, he's staying on to oversee the post-production. He's seeing, like, as showrunner, he's seeing the project through. He's just not going to continue on, even if it gets picked up for a second season. Which, I mean, respect for that. So, could conjecture all day long as to the reasons behind it, but all in all, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really curious to see what they come up with. So, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to get Paramount Plus. Or a friend or family member who has it. Just get a family member who happens to have it. That's how that works, right? Catching up on the chat. Jedi saying, a Halo TV series has been a dream, but it sounds like it doesn't have a great start. Right? I don't know. Yeah, I'm torn with that. Because like I said, seeing a showrunner walk away after season 1 is never a good sign. Seeing a showrunner choose to step away and make a point of continuing to see through the first, like, what they've already started is a better sign. Because like I said, it's not like they're huffing off in a storm. They're just not staying on with the project. So Jedi appreciated my just get a family member who happens to have Paramount Plus. Yeah, that's how this works, obviously. Next up to chat about, let's talk Sims 4. Because there's no solid way to transition there, but let's talk Sims 4. Specifically that Sims 4 is getting in-game music festivals. Which I am curious about for a myriad of reasons. Sims 4 players will now get a new stage to explore this summer. It's going to have an in-game musical event called Sims Sessions. Sims Sessions will run from June 26th through July 7th and includes artists like Bibi Rexha, Glass Animals lead singer Dave Bailey, and singer and songwriter Joy Oladokan. Oh, that's one of those things that I practiced ahead of time and then I panicked when I saw it on the page and I forgot how to say it. I apologize. So the Sims franchise has a long history of collaborating with artists to bring their music into the game. Notably, every song has to be changed because in The Sims, everyone speaks Simlish, including celebrity cameos. And so here's why I'm curious as to how this music festival is going to go. Songs are often used for promotional purposes, but Sim Sessions will have them be integrated directly into the game world. So players are going to be able to dress their Sims up, head down to the concert, and pick up exclusive digital merchandise from the performers. Once the show is finished, they can take to the stage themselves to play some Sims tunes. Or if you're not interested in the attention, Sims can sneak off to woohoo in the tents. As you do. There's even a tie-in TikTok challenge called Simlish Sessions, where players can sing the single Sabotage in Simlish. That was such a tongue twister of a sentence. So it's a good time to learn the difference between Yabahorn and Yimbala. The Sims 4 will be on sale leading up to the Sim Session from June 24th to 29th. You do not need an expansion to visit the Sim Session in-game, so it's going to be available to everybody. Yeah, so Jedi saying in-game music festivals. I mean, if it's like how Fortnite did it, it'd be pretty cool. And then, oh, that's right. If it's in Sims language, how could it be a real... That's... Okay, so that is my question. Are they legit just going to do an entire show in Simlish? Because that's what it sounds like to me, that they're gonna legitimately just bring in multiple artists, set up a full concert where you're sitting there in the audience listening to Simlish. I am equal parts intrigued and saddened as a lyricist. I don't know. I feel like I'm being kind of hoity-toity about it, but I love lyrics in music. It's half of the enjoyment for me. No, mind you, I'm totally down also to just go to an orchestral event or music does not have to have lyrics that I understand by any means. But I feel like if I'm going to a concert, like a music festival-esque concert, I personally typically go partially for the lyrics. Maybe that's just me. Also, I'm curious because I don't know much about this personally. I mean, I've played Sims before for sure, or rather watched other people who own the game play it. But is Simlish a language with like proper grammar and syntax? Or is it just kind of like a gibberish-esque thing? Because that would also make a difference for me. If it's a language, then I can learn the language and understand what's going on. Not that I'm that dedicated, but it's theoretically possible. But if it's not a language, then it's just replacing language with not. I don't know, there's something about that that just makes my heart a little sad, but I'm also highly intrigued. Jedi says they'll be watching over the shoulder of someone who has it, so I don't remember if I mentioned that or not, but we'll have to see how this goes. And then record the artist's voice and remix it so hardcore it's not even the original language anymore. Right? Like, yeah, it's something. I don't know, but I'm really curious. If one of y'all can find out for me if Simlish is a real language, let me know in the chat. In the meantime, it is time to hydrate or dihydrate. I typed that with one hand and I'm really proud of it. I didn't type that whole thing. I just typed... Anyways. Now is the time where I go for my regularly scheduled water break. I'm gonna go sneak off and drink some water. And y'all should too, because water is good for your kidneys. Drink some water. I'll be right back. And I mean you, Jedi. Very specifically you. Go drink water. I'll be right back. I am back. Shout out to Jedi Roxy. I am very, very, very proud of your hydration habits. That's what we've been chatting about in the little break there. Yay! Regular hydration! I'm legit so proud. Seriously, your kidneys will thank you. Yeah, that's legit. I'm excited. I had something else that I think I wanted to say, but I don't even know what it was. I got completely sidetracked by my pride for Jedi Roxy in their water drinking. And also, the whole mention of coffee, too. Like, still drink coffee, but drinking more water. There's nothing wrong with that. I drink coffee, too. Like I said, I don't harp on water because I have anything against other beverages. I just harp on water because we as a society don't drink enough water. But yeah. Jedi says I'm doing it for the kidneys. Yes. Hashtag worth it. Yeah. Let's chat entertainment news, shall we? Next up to babble about is Stranger Things. Specifically the fact that Stranger Things is about to go on a Goonies-style adventure via comics. Fans have been eagerly anticipating the 4th season of Netflix's hit streaming series, which is just constant homage to the popular culture of the 1980s. That's what the show is, in a lot of ways. An upcoming Stranger Things comic book from Dark Horse Comics called Stranger Things Tomb of Ibwen. Goodness, I should have looked that up ahead of time. What was I doing with my life? How did I miss that? I always look up words. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that. It's Y-B-W-E-N. I must have, when I was looking through this ahead of time, my brain rearranged that into a word that I knew. Because there's no other way I would not have looked that up. Ibn? Somebody tell me. Quick! Google the pronunciation. Anyways, this particular comic is going to send the Hawkins kids on an adventure in the style of 1985's The Goonies. Bob Newby, who is played in Stranger Things by the Goonies star Sean Astin, features prominently on Kyle Lambert's variant cover, which is the homage to the children's adventure movie. Greg Pak writes the comic, with art by Diego Galindo, colors by Francesco Segala, and letters by Nate Piekos. The story takes place after Stranger Things' 2nd season, and the synopsis is as follows. Quote, "It is January 1985. The Hawkins crew survived their battle with a terrible mind flayer, but Will is still reeling from the recent death of Bob Newby. Will's friends have been too busy with their girlfriends to notice how much he's struggling. However, Will finds a way to bring the team back together again when he and Mr. Clark discover a mysterious map Bob left in a box of old nerdy memorabilia. Will rallies the crew to investigate, and they find more than they could have imagined. This comic explores grief and friendship, all while capturing the Stranger Things sense of adventure." End quote. In an official press release, Pak says, quote, "I'm so thrilled to be working with such an amazing team on a story that combines classic 80s treasure hunt hijinks with impending natural disaster and a high-stakes emotional story as Will grapples with the aftermath of the death of Bob Newby. Diego, Francesco, and Nate are capturing the wonder, danger, and emotion in every page and every panel. And as always, it's a thrill to be working on a story that fills in key emotional context for our heroes while giving unexpected characters a chance to really shine. I'll just say, if you like Mr. Clark, you're gonna love this book." End quote. Galindo added to that, "As a Stranger Things viewer, being able to perceive children's emotions and put Greg Pak's story on paper is really exciting. I have put my heart and soul on the pages, and I hope that readers find the same feelings in the comics as when they see its protagonist on screen. For now, I'm on a curiosity voyage, and I need my pencils to travel." End quote. So that first issue of this is going on sale on September 29th. I'm still mad at myself for that word. Hold up. Hold up. Do I even have the ability to look it up right now? What did my brain think that was? Well, Google thinks it's Bowen, so there's that. I mean, it's like, I know it's a... Maybe my brain just thought it was newbie, because it's a... I can't think of that word either! The mixed letters of newbie. I don't know. Edwin. That's gonna drive me nuts. Oh well. There it is. This wouldn't be eSpot Live if I didn't horrendously embarrass myself. Live. If y'all needed proof that this was not scripted or planned ahead of time, aside from just the topics that I babble about, there it is. I should, again, specify, I do prepare for this. Just sometimes I miss things. Anyways, before I dig that hole any deeper, let's move right along. So the dog that was the inspiration for Fallout's dog meat was a pup named River, who has unfortunately passed away. We've got a lot of bummer topics today, I guess. Kind of heavy stuff here. So River was a real-life dog that was the inspiration for Fallout 4's dog meat. The news was shared by Fallout 4's senior designer, Joel Burgess, on Twitter alongside a thread that honored her life with images, behind-the-scenes stories, and much more. The tweet started by saying that River was the antidote for the biggest worry for the dog meat character, a canine weapon and nothing more. River made their goal of having dog meat become a companion first and a combat ally second come true. It didn't start that way, as the team started their research by researching, quote, professional dogs with film and or police training. Burgess recalled visiting the desk of a new member to the dog meat team and seeing, quote, countless images of German Shepherds snarling, all teeth and attack postures, end quote. A day or two following that, River arrived and just kind of changed everything. She would attend meetings, not as a subject to be poked, prodded, and recorded and filmed, but to just be with the team. The team quickly bonded with her and began adding much of her personality to the character of Dogmeat. According to Burgess, River was, quote, more than a mascot or an inspiration. She was part of the team, end quote. Beyond replicating River's looks for Dogmeat, which helped the team as her markings happened to work really well for pose, for like reading in the facial expressions and everything, her patience and gentle nature were also made into a part of the character. They even captured much of River's voice for Dogmeat's audio, including, sadly enough, the distress calls. This was absolutely heartbreaking for the team, but they made this possible by having Burgess stand in an adjacent room where she could smell but not see him until she started calling out. So that's a little sad. But know that it wasn't like a permanent or harsh thing. I'm sure that she got all of the pats afterwards. River also helped with pathing for Dogmeat, as long walks with her would show that while she would trot ahead, she would consistently stop and look back and check in. This helped connect players to Dogmeat, as it showed the care that they had for the player. River's joy in making people happy, including bringing large objects to the team, was also captured in the game, as was her priority of protecting you and not being an attack dog that just killed everything in sight. One of the most important parts of Dogmeat's identity is that, like the player character, the dog doesn't belong in Fallout 4's world either. For a game filled with, quote, bizarre creatures, places, scenarios, and characters, Dogmeat is your tether to the real world. Bridges concludes with, Dogmeat is a tether. He grounds you in the world, will always stand by you, lead you to your family, and anticipate your needs. He wants you to be safe and happy. In other words, he loves you. And if love is River's legacy, I am contented. Rest in peace, big girl. End quote. Ah! It's making me tear up a little bit. Jedi's remarking on the fact that I keep accidentally whacking Rodney. It's true. I'm flailing. I flail when I'm nervous. It's part of what Rodney does, is my emotional support, Zach. I flail, and then he reminds me that he's there, and I need to not flail as much. Jedi says, I heard about the Fallout dog inspiration passing. And then Jedi says, when I saw the appearance of them being very similar, I thought, I mean, the plus side is that she'll live on through the game. It's true, in more ways than one, too. Because like that was saying, they used her likeness for sure, but also a lot of her personality made it into the character. So, as sad and heartbreaking as it is, it's also really nice to know that she'll live on in the game. So there's that. I don't really have anything else to add on that particular topic. But yeah. Bittersweet. Very sad, but really, really good to know that she was loved. Next up, on a kind of more silly note, I guess we're kind of gonna start sloping away from the heavier topics. The Walking Dead Survivors has released a new ad that seems to be blatantly copying the Resident Evil 2 remake ad. So, The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, both of them are popular zombie-focused franchises. That really seems to be where the similarities should end. Walking Dead is about showing the ugly side of humanity when society collapses, whereas Resident Evil is more about, you know, shooting mutated super monsters covered in goo and eyeballs. They're two very different things. They're different stories. They're different genres, almost. Both zombie stories, but there it is. But now they have something else in common, because there's a mobile game called The Walking Dead Survivors, which is one of those kind of free-to-play apps that you've likely seen pop up in ads on YouTube videos or whatnot. But whoever's behind the marketing team for this game... I'm so sorry, Rodney. You are just getting thrown all over the place today. Yeah, whoever's the marketing team for this particular game definitely took some inspiration from the Resident Evil 2 remake cover art. In fact, they may have taken a little too much inspiration, as it's basically the same thing. This was first pointed out by Twitter user, I never know how to pronounce handles, but I think I'm allowed to not know how to pronounce them, because you don't know if they're names or just like a mix of letters. But it's UWEBOLLOCKS. So, Ubulux or something. It was pointed out that the two images of the cover arts are almost interchangeable. The one on the right in this post is an actual Instagram ad for the mobile app, and then there's the original. Everything from the building, the background, the placement of the zombies, the color scheme, the lighting, even the way the two Walking Dead characters are holding their weapons is identical to the Resident Evil 2 remake cover art. It looks like all the Walking Dead Survivors marketing team did was cut out Leon and Claire and paste in their generic protagonists. And then, judging by another tweet by Kevin M. Cruz, that seems to be precisely what they did. If you look at the female character's hands, you can still see Claire's gun poking out from behind the female Walking Dead survivor character. Which would mean that they literally pasted over Claire and forgot to erase her hands afterwards. Now, I'm all for taking inspiration. Typically, in instances like this, there has to be permission involved. If you're slapping a dude with a baseball cap and a sad-looking lady over art from one of the most popular horror games of the last few years, just call it a day. Yeah, I guess all I can say is I hope they got permission ahead of time. To some extent, because if not, that's not going to end well for them. Because it's kind of very clear what it is. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out, because it's kind of funny, if nothing else. But yeah, I feel like with all the recent topics we've had on things like... all the recent topics and talks we've had on, like, copyright lawsuits... I had this, I don't know why this just popped in my head, but this reminds me of, like, I did a project that was writing a story for a class, and I didn't think I was a very good artist. So I had my sister draw the cover art for it, which wasn't even necessarily required. And I felt like a fraud because I took her picture and I drew something essentially very similar based on her ideas, because she's really good at coming up with pictures in her head, and I'm not. Flash forward a couple decades, I now realize it's because I have something called aphantasia and literally can't create pictures in my head. Go figure. But I was sitting there as, like, little 12-year-old me was feeling terrible for using my sister's kind of just basic idea and outline for it. But I at least went through the effort of drawing it myself. I didn't trace hers. I didn't, like, just post her work there. I drew it myself based on the kind of, like, ideas and placement that she helped me with. I can't imagine just, like, copy pasting and slapping over something and just calling it a day. I can't. But, you know, like I said, you never know what's going on behind the scenes in situations like that, or who else involved in the project, or where permission lies. That's not something that I can judge on until it comes up, either in a direct conversation from the people involved, or in a lawsuit. But yeah, something about that just cracks me up a little bit. So there it is. Last but not least, let's end by chatting about Twilight. Didn't see that coming, did you? Who knew there would still be news about Twilight now? Twilight has changed their Twitter profile after BTS's Jin gives a call out, which is actually kind of cute and heartwarming and funny. So BTS member Jin offered a fresh take on the teen romance franchise. Did I say team? Teen? Team 2, why not? Stephanie Meyer's vampire-centric, werewolf-containing book and film series kind of tells the story of an epic courtship between a human high school student, Bella Swan, and her vampire classmate, Edward Cullen. There are additional supernatural species that enter the fray as the story progresses, notably including a population of werewolves that stand at odds with the vampire neighbors. If you don't know, Twilight, there it is in a nutshell. Regardless of your personal opinion or thoughts on it, it's very popular, especially in its time. Well-known, popular, very, very unique and expressive fandom. So that's kind of what it holds in common with the South Korean boy band BTS, is that just huge, passionate, international fan base with still active online communities. Now, I say still active. BTS is very much an active band. Still active in that Twilight, the series, has been out for a very long time. The movies have been out for a very long time. But the online fandom is still running strong. And then these two fandoms intersected this week when BTS member Jin mentioned Meyer's series in a clip that was posted online. So the video is from Run BTS, which is a trivia talk show style web series in which the band members answer questions and complete challenges. The group is asked to name, quote, some fairy tales involving wolves, end quote. Jin unexpectedly answers with Twilight, eliciting laughter from his bandmates. The call-out made waves among dual fans of the band and Wolf Tale, who were excited to hear the artist acknowledge the Twilight franchise. Whoever runs the Twilight Twitter account is evidently also a BTS fan, because the official @Twilight profile has been altered, which is kind of fantastic. The Twilight Saga's Twitter bio now reads, quote, the official Twitter account of that fairy tale involving wolves, end quote. The new bio's obviously tongue-in-cheek reference to the unintentionally game-changing literary criticism, in which the singer comically reframes the vampire romance as a fairy tale involving wolves. Team Jacob, I guess? There it is. And then, in addition to altering the bio, the Twilight account joined in on the excitement in the comments, tweeting, "OMG, Jin thinks about us," in response to the clip, which is kind of fantastic. The tweet was accompanied by a perfectly timed GIF that quotes Jin speculating, "Maybe I was a vampire in my previous life." Since that clip was posted, the band's and Story's respective Twitter fandoms have been hard at work pitching various fanfiction crossovers where Jin appears in the Twilight universe as a character. What makes this fantastic, though, is this quickly went from just fanfic crossovers into Lionsgate joining in on the conversation with a meme suggesting that the major film studio finds the prospect interesting. Very interesting. But for now, the internet banter between the fandoms is all in good fun. The fanfic dream casting, mostly hypothetical, but I don't know. If a studio sees potential to make money and fans are into it, you never know, guys. The Twilight movie series concluded in 2012 with the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2. But Meyer does say that she has more novels in the works, so who knows? Maybe there are actual future opportunities for a BTS member to enter the Twilight universe. V is the only BTS member with an acting career as of now, so it'll be interesting to see what comes next. But any film or book with a big enough audience is open for remake today, essentially. And so the Twilight Saga, like I said, still has an active online fan base, so we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, that's all I got. That's all I have for today. Wanted to end on a kind of light, happy, funny note because, a lot of heavy topics today. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for hanging out with me on eSpot Live. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow us across all of the social medias. We're on Twitch, obviously. We're on YouTube. We're on Discord. Building a community there. We're having a lot of fun. Check it out. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on... I almost said Instagram again. We're on all of the social medias. Come check us out. That's really all I got. I don't have anything specific to plug or chat about today. If you haven't checked out our Steam page yet, check out early access version of Awoken. Check out Grab Last Shot on the wish list. We're having a lot of fun. We've got some really cool stuff in the works. And as always, we're grateful for your support. I'll be back on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, so that's 6 p.m. if you're on the other coast. If there's technical difficulties, somebody will be here to hang out with y'all. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Stay hydrated. I'm proud of you, Jedi. Stay kind. We all need a little bit more of that. Jedi says, "Peace be with ye and Rodney." I appreciate that. As always, stay devious.